These two Toyota Prado J150s may look similar, but they have their own notable differences. Now, part of the major difference between these two cars is the cost. We borrowed these two J150s from CARPLICITY, and the one on my right is going for a whooping 10.5 million Kenya shillings. However, the one on my left goes for 8.5 million Kenya shillings. They are both of the same year of manufacture, and we are having this review to try and see the differences between these two cars and if these differences actually are a basis to the cost differences of these two SUVs. And we are doing this because AutoConnect is the only car channel that will guarantee you an alluring motor vehicle experience. I'll be your host, Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK. And remember, you can follow me at a personal level on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok as well. And remember, you can also follow CARPLICITY to see the cars that they have in stock. Follow them, CARPLICITY, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Now, let's get up close and candid with these two Toyota Prado J150s. Before we get to the differences of these two J150s, I would like to remind you that we offer services such as pre-purchase inspections, usinunue gari kama mbuzi. The other service is consultation on matters cars, and if you do not want to go through the hassle of sourcing for a car, we also offer sourcing services. Yes, now let's get back to the J150s. Before we can differentiate them, we start with their history and their origins. Now, this is the Toyota Prado J150 KAKADU. The KAKADU is the highest trim of the Toyota Prado in the Australian market. The white one is the Toyota Prado J150 TZG edition, and the TZG is the highest trim of the Toyota Prado in the Japanese market. Well, this one is more expensive compared to this, and they have some significant differences between them. And because AutoConnect is all about educating you about car matters, we are going to tell you the differences between a KAKADU and a TZG. And we are going to start with what is under the hood of these two J150s. Under the hood of these two J150s is the same engine. Which engine are we talking about? It's an engine that we have talked about time and again at AutoConnect, and that is the 1GD FTV. It's a 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine, and fuel is delivered to the cylinders directly through a common rail. It's a modern engine at Toyota because its inception was around 2016 thereabout, and it's known for superior thermal efficiency. Now, these two engines are known for power and also for good fuel economy. However, if you look at the engine bay of the KAKADU and then take a look at the engine bay of the TZG, you will notice one striking difference. Now, I told you the TZG is a Japanese spec and it's a Euro 6. So what does that mean? It has what we call the diesel exhaust fluid, and that is AdBlue. So this is where you top up your AdBlue, and we have talked about DEF time and again. But if you look at the engine bay of the KAKADU, you do not have AdBlue. And the first notable difference is that the KAKADU does not feature AdBlue, but the TZG does. Now, the other notable difference that you're going to find from these two vehicles is that, remember, The KAKADU is made for the wild. And if you look under the bumper of the KAKADU, you'll notice it comes with a bash plate or a sump guard, and that is something we do not have on the TZG, because the conditions in Japan do not necessarily call for a capable off-road SUV, but they just have to have the Prado. In fact, Japanese Prados are quite boring. Yeah, all of them are Japanese cars, but the Prados meant for the Japanese domestic market, the TX, the TXL, and the TZG, they are, to be honest, they are quite boring comparing them to what you would find in Australia and South Africa. Not forgetting the ones that we get locally as 0 mileage in Kenya. And I must say, before we go to the other differences in these cars, the J150 will be probably the most iconic generation of the Toyota Prado. My personal favorite of the J150 was the Teardrop Edition VXL. Now, unfortunately, today we don't have a VXL, but the difference between a KAKADU and a VXL is actually quite minimal, even with the interior, and I'll explain when we get to the interior and also, you know, to the engine, because the VXLs only got the 1GD engine from around the year 2020, but the KAKADU got them as early as 2018 thereabout. Now, the other good thing about the VXL is, you know, for the millennials, back then, those days when you would go and notice a fine young lady, sometimes you would whistle to capture the attention of the nice young lady. But with a VXL, you don't have to do that, because the vehicle will do the whistling for you. Why? The VXLs are made for the South African and Kenyan market mostly, and they do not have a catalytic converter, they do not have an EGR, they do not have a DPF. So yes, it does all the whistling for you. Anyway, now, which is the other significant difference between the KAKADU and the TZG when it comes to matters exterior? Let's go to the rear and I'll show you something quite interesting. The other notable difference aesthetically is the position of the spare tire. Well, on the KAKADU, we have a spare tire that is mounted on the tailgate, whereas on the TZG, the spare tire is mounted underneath the car. Why is this? Remember, I told you this Australian and South African spec of the Prados are meant to cover long distances in the, you know, treacherous conditions. So you might be traveling over a long distance, or you go camping in a remote place where you might not find a petrol station. So what do you have to do as a manufacturer to improve that vehicle? You add an extra tank. So the Toyota Prado KAKADU J150 has 2 fuel tanks, and one of them is mounted under the vehicle, where on the TZG the spare tire is, and that is why they had to be innovative and mount the spare tire on the tailgate of the vehicle. So in case you're buying a KAKADU or a VX or a VXL, one way of identifying a true VX, VXL, or a true VX or VXL or the KAKADU is the 2 fuel tanks. So you'll have one right here and one slightly towards the center of the vehicle. The other difference that you will get is that because of the tailgate mounted spare tire, on the KAKADU you will not be able to open this. But on the TZG, since you do not have a spare tire mounted on the tailgate, you can be able to open this up. And that adds to the convenience of the TZG, because you can flip in luggage without necessarily having to open the tailgate. Now, the other significant differences are in the interior, and these will showcase why one is better off-road compared to the other. Both the TZG and the KAKADU have a sunroof and they can seat 7. However, there are some notable differences when it comes to the interior. Now, the KAKADU has a cooler box right here, so that you can chill your drinks when you're driving across the Australian outback or even the treacherous Kenyan terrain in very hot temperatures. Now, the other notable difference is the number of diff locks, and this means that there is a difference in their off-road capabilities. Since the KAKADU is meant for treacherous terrain, it features two diff locks. It has a center diff lock and a rear diff lock, whereas the TZG only has one diff lock. Now, the other notable difference is that this one comes with a JBL sound system, whereas the TZG does not. Another difference that is associated with the entertainment or the infotainment systems in this car is that the KAKADU has a roof-mounted entertainment unit for the guys at the back, and as if that is not enough, if you have two passengers sitting at the back, they both have independent headset ports and they can adjust their volumes independently. So that's something that is quite good when it comes to, you know, the convenience and entertainment features that you find in the KAKADU. Both the KAKADU and TZG have Toyota's pre-safe system that includes blind spot monitoring, lane departure assist, and even collision prevention mechanisms. Let us talk about the off-road features of the J150. Now, for the TZG and the VXL and also the KAKADU, you're going to get a multi-terrain system. Like for you to utilize the multi-terrain system, you have to first of all shift the vehicle to neutral, then select for low. Now, once you have selected those two, you can be able to access the multi-terrain system. Now, on the multi-terrain system, you have, depending on where the vehicle is, you have mud and sand, then you can flip to loose rock, you can flip to mogul, and you can flip to rock and dirt. Now, you also have a rock mode on both. Now, this is a feature that is available in both the TZG, the VXL, and the KAKADU. Also, on the VX, the other thing you have is the height control. Since these Prados feature rear adjustable suspension, in fact, they have airbags at the rear. So in case you're in extreme off-road, you can be able to lift up the rear of the vehicle to prevent it from getting bogged. Now, the other thing we have to talk about is crawl control. Now, crawl control comes in handy when you're in extra stressing or extra difficult off-road terrain, and that forms a very good basis to use crawl mode on the J150. And then you have the diff locks. This is the rear locker, and this is the rear locker, and this is the center locker. And then the other thing you have is second start. So what does second start do in a Toyota Prado J150? Now, this comes in handy when you're on a slippery surface. If you want to start off the vehicle in gear number 2 as opposed to gear number 1, you engage second start, and that reduces wheel spin. Before we wind up, the last but not least, but anyway, it should be least in this review, difference between these two is that the KAKADU comes in 18-inch wheels, whereas the TZG comes in 19-inch wheels. But fact is, if you're looking for an off-roader, the KAKADU has an edge over the TZG. The KAKADU is more rugged, and fortunately, it's even more luxurious if you compare it to the TZG. But does the 10.5 million Kenya shilling price tag really hold up for the ruggedness and for the off-road capability of the vehicle, and for the extra luxury features like a cooler box and a superior entertainment and infotainment unit, and even tropicalization? Do you think that the 2 million price tag is a little bit too much when you're buying the J150 KAKADU, considering that both SUVs are year of manufacture 2018? Now, as I leave you to ponder on that, kindly tell us which one would be your pick between the KAKADU and the TZG. Now, my personal pick would be the J150 KAKADU, because this is the adventurous SUV. Now, this is a little bit boring, and it's mostly a town Prado, and that is why you even get body kits on some of these Prados. But for the hardcore off-roaders, the KAKADU would make perfect sense. Now, I've been your host, Eric Okabi, Eric with the CK. Remember, we value your feedback. Kindly share with us feedback on this review on the comment section, as well as on our social media handles, AutoConnect Kenya on Facebook and Instagram. And also, you can connect with me at a personal level, Eric Wakabi, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X as well. My handle is Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK. Till next time, keep it AutoConnect. Also, remember to subscribe and share the channel for somebody who would be looking out for insightful content such as comparing these two J150s.